Recording in progress. I've got to agree to this. There you go. I agree.
Excellent. So a very warm welcome, Stephen. Thank you so much for joining me, and a very warm welcome to our viewers. Thank you for tuning into today's chat with Stephen Murphy, who is the EMCC Global Vice-President for Thought Leadership and Development. My name is Christina Clark, and I'm a member of the EMCC Luxembourg, hence I'm sitting here. And over the next 15 minutes or so, we hope to dig into how the coaching world is serving the community, particularly in the context of the big global themes which dominate our screens and minds. And so without further ado, Stephen, thank you so much for joining me. And could I ask you to say a few words about your role at EMCC Global before we kick off the questions?
Yeah, well, my role is Vice President for Thought Leadership and Development. Thought leadership and development are not necessarily clear by themselves. When you put them together, they're probably even less clear. So I'll try and give you a bit of background on what that means. I'm one of 4 members of the Global Executive Board of EMCC. And EMCC is a kind of, what would I say, not a traditional organization in terms of its structure. If I look at a normal multinational, you would see a kind of pyramidical CEO at the top, and then everything comes down from that into countries and organizations. EMCC is an inverted pyramid, in that at the top of EMCC, there are 30 odd countries, each with the president, regions as well, and they represent the council. And I'm part of the executive board, which implements the strategies that the council approves, because obviously you can't get decisions with 30 people in one place. And my particular role is thought leadership and development, which I can tell you about if you'd like to know.
Yes, please. But I was going to actually ask you, before we jump into thought leadership itself, I was going to ask you, so what does the EMCC stand for as a brand and a culture in itself?
EMCC has been around 30 years. We have our anniversary this year. European Mentoring and Coaching Council is the full descriptor of EMCC, and we realized that in the days closer to our beginning, Europe was where we really focused, and our heritage is European. As things have developed and as communication has improved, as coaching and mentoring and supervision have developed, so we're now truly a global organization. And to keep saying European Mentoring and Coaching Council is a little bit off if you're in Africa or America. We've moved to the mnemonic, so we've moved to EMCC. We discussed, should we be Global Mentoring and Coaching Council? But actually the European heritage is pretty important to us in the field of coaching, mentoring and supervision, and therefore we've kept it. Mm-hmm. The organization itself is, I think if I use 2 words, it would be collaborative and co-creative would be the 2 words that come out for me to describe the sense of EMCC.
Fantastic. And so, I mean, thought leadership is perhaps a bit of a trendy buzz term these days, but how exactly would you define it? And what's the objective behind the focus for EMCC?
Well, we used to have quality, 1 word, and there was a VP for quality. And what we realized is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, except it was very difficult to say what that person had responsibility for, because everything is underpinned by quality if you get what you really want. So the word itself didn't mean too much. We thought about a different way of establishing something which could work in the background, but could also work in the foreground. And thought leadership came to mind. In looking at the definition of thought leadership, I actually went to Wikipedia and found thought leadership as a go-to expert. And I think it encompasses our intent because it's consistently answering the biggest questions on the mind of a target audience on a particular topic.
Yeah.
And so if I put that into EMCC speak, rather than Wikipedia speak, it was kind of identify, validate, engage, and shape the global coaching, mentoring, and supervision narrative on selected issues, which are kind of most relevant to our target audience. So that's my definition for thought leadership. It's a mouthful, but I think it's pretty explicit when you break it down. Yes,
yes, absolutely. And as we referenced briefly in the intro, of course, there's a vast number of topics to cover in our increasingly fractured society. So I guess this is a question really for any skeptics who might be out there. But how do you decide which of the very many topics that we should focus on? How do you coordinate them and maintain their focus?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one. If I turn it on its head and say, well, what are the big topics that are around? When you come into age, people are looking at coaching, mentoring, supervision, irrespective of ages now. So starting at a young age and moving through to a more senior position. The role of digital in developing coaching platforms, the role of artificial intelligence. Are we going to be chucked out of coaching and mentoring by machines in the near or long-term future? How does culture impact on the execution of coaching, mentoring, supervision, depending on geographies? We're now global, so it's obviously very different depending on where you are. You've got still lots of concerns on environment, sustainability, ethics. How do you manage ethics, not just on paper, but actually in practice? You're looking to develop a charter for coaching. So where does ethics fit there? And how do you make sure that coaches and mentors and supervisors are held accountable in some way? Our geography is expanding. That brings different issues just from a question of where you are. Language plays a huge role now. In the days where you were country oriented, your membership was country based. Should it be now? It's much more logical to say, well, if I'm a French speaker or a Spanish speaker or an English speaker or a German speaker, actually I'm looking for like-minded speakers with whom I can spar and develop, not necessarily in a country. Research. Everything we do is underpinned by research, and I think maybe I could add to the two words I used before in terms of collaborative and co-creative, and add research-based, because we really want to be sure that what we do is underpinned by solid research.
Sort of adds to this sort of theme of quality that sort of permeates the EMCC. So
that's the idea. I'll keep my fingers crossed on the execution of that.
So just moving on to the EMCC Global Centers for Excellence, I'm interested in what the purpose is of the Centers for Excellence and what outputs we can expect from them.
Well, we used to have work groups, and that has a kind of a bit of an industrial revolution hint to, work groups. We've got to get people down the mines and doing which is clearly not where we are. We then thought, okay, well, so we should move from work groups to centers of excellence. And some very wise people said, well, actually, if you're into thought leadership and development, and if you're looking to develop, then presumably you are not saying that you are already excellent, but you're searching for excellence. So we changed it to Centers for Excellence. So that's the first key word. And against the definition I gave you before, obviously then you decide on your agenda and what kind of things you work on. So some of the topics I just went through are front of mind, but how do you group those? So what we did is we set up some thoughts. Ethics clearly transcends lots of different areas. So there's an ethics group. climate action is really important in the world today. So there's a Center for Excellence there. AI and digital is a new Center for Excellence, which I think will make a real contribution to people's understanding of that area. We still need to look at competence development and where we are in making sure we're consistent in what we do and that we're meeting the skills and the attributes of really good coaches, mentors, and supervisors. There's a regulatory group which has just developed a charter which is now with the EU to recognize coaching. Those are the key ones. On top of that, though, we've also added in what was D&I, but we're now looking at whether we move to inclusion, diversity, and equality, and change the order of the wording, because maybe that adds a different perspective to things as well. So that's our latest Center for Excellence.
Fantastic. And Stephen, I know you mentioned earlier on, some that you might be looking for some collaborators or sparring partners, etc. So what support are you looking for, and how can the coaching community help?
Well, we're a voluntary organization, so we don't get paid, and frankly, we operate on the goodwill of the people who are also members of EMCC. So if you're a member of EMCC in whatever geography, then if you want to devote some time to help develop some of the themes that I've just said, or indeed if you have other themes that we're not developing that you think we should, there is a Centers for Excellence at emccglobal.org email address. And if you contact that, then just let us know what you're interested in, and someone will get back in contact and we can go from there. Additionally, on the website, there's also the same contact details. So if you look under thought leadership and development on our website, you'll see that there is a method of getting in touch there.
Fantastic. So if any of our viewers are wondering how they might contribute, then we can share that address with them. So that's great. Yeah. Wonderful, Stephen. So thank you. Are there any final words you'd like to leave us with today?
No, well, there are always words, and you can go on forever. But this is a really exciting, for me, it's a really exciting role, because it really is a chance to contribute to the development of the three areas in which we work. And so it's amazingly stimulating to have conversations, be part of conversations, and look at the research that we're developing, which is going to support that. So I just would like to invite anyone who wants to come and join to get in touch. That will be my closing. Fantastic
call to action. Well, listen, many thanks for your time, Stephen. I've really enjoyed speaking to you today, and thank you, our audience, for tuning in. Please do let us know in the comments how you are approaching thought leadership and which, if any, topics you're thinking about at the moment. So thank you very much from us, and goodbye. Bye. Thank you.